First, all you see is the finished rice cake. Smooth white cylinders slide across a steel conveyor, still warm from steam, shining under clean factory lights. A blade drops with perfect timing. Every piece lands in the same shape, the same length, the same soft bounce. In a few seconds, these rice cakes will become the chewy center of tteokbokki, soups, snacks, and frozen meals across Korea. But this perfect shape does not begin with a machine. It begins with rice. Plain grains, washed again and again, soaked until the center turns tender, then crushed, steamed, pressed, and shaped by workers who know exactly how the dough should feel. In this factory, rice is not just cooked. Rice is transformed.
The first secret is water. If the rice is too dry, the final cake will crack. If the rice holds too much water, the dough will become heavy and weak.
The first secret is water. If the rice is too dry, the final cake will crack. If the rice holds too much water, the dough will become heavy and weak. So the factory treats soaking like a controlled science. Workers check temperature, time, and texture before the rice moves forward. Then the wet grains are drained, lifted, and sent into the milling room. This is where the shape disappears. The rice is no longer a grain. Heavy rollers and grinders break it down into a soft, damp rice flour. The flour is not powdery like wheat flour. It feels heavier. It holds moisture. And this moisture is what gives Korean rice cakes their soft, elastic bite.
Inside the steamer, every particle absorbs heat and moisture until the mixture changes.
Now the rice flour meets heat. The trays enter a steaming chamber and the factory becomes quiet in a different way. Steam fills the air. Water turns into pressure. The damp flour begins to bind together. This is not simple cooking. It is the moment when loose rice flour becomes a solid mass. Inside the steamer, every particle absorbs heat and moisture until the mixture changes into soft rice dough. Workers watch the timing closely. Too little steam and the dough will break apart. Too much steam and the texture can become sticky in the wrong way. The goal is a dough that bends, stretches, and holds together.
The dough enters an extruder. Pressure pushes the dough through round openings, and long white ropes begin to appear.
The dough is now alive with texture. It is warm, dense, and elastic, but it still has no final shape. For long rice cakes, the dough enters an extruder. Pressure pushes the dough through round openings, and long white ropes begin to appear. The movement looks simple, but the balance is delicate. The dough must be hot enough to flow, firm enough to keep its form, and smooth enough to avoid tearing. Workers stand close to the line, watching the surface. A small crack can show that the moisture is wrong. A rough edge can show that the pressure needs to change. The machines create the shape, but trained eyes protect the quality.
Cutting is one of the most satisfying stages in the factory. Long ropes become hundreds of small pieces in seconds.
Cutting is one of the most satisfying stages in the factory. Long ropes become hundreds of small pieces in seconds. Each piece must be even because size changes the way rice cakes cook later. Too thick and the center stays firm. Too thin and the rice cake can lose its chew. The cut pieces travel forward, still soft and warm. Some are made for spicy tteokbokki. Some are made for soup. Some will be frozen. Some will be packed fresh. Before any of that happens, the rice cakes must be cooled, separated, and checked. The factory now shifts from shaping to control.
East Asian female workers and machines share the work. Machines portion with speed, while workers adjust.
Not every rice cake leaves the factory in the same form. Some pieces are plain and white. Others are prepared for ready-to-cook meals with sauce packets, vegetables, or fish cake slices. In one line, the rice cakes stay simple. In another, they become part of a complete meal kit. Workers and machines share the work. Machines weigh and portion with speed. Workers adjust, inspect, and catch small mistakes. This partnership is the heart of the factory. The machines create rhythm. The people create judgment. Together, they turn soft rice dough into a product that can be cooked at home in minutes. Packaging protects the rice cake's texture. Air, moisture, and temperature all matter. A rice cake can dry out if the seal is weak. A rice cake can spoil if the cooling and packing are not controlled. So the factory uses sealed bags, trays, film, and sometimes vacuum systems. The sound changes here. The soft sounds of dough become sharper sounds of plastic, heat sealing, and boxes. Every package is checked for weight, seal strength, and appearance. The rice cake is no longer just food on a conveyor. It is becoming a product ready to travel.
Before the rice cakes leave, the factory checks one more thing: consistency.
Before the rice cakes leave, the factory checks one more thing: consistency. A finished package must look simple, but behind that simplicity are many small controls. The rice was washed, the moisture was balanced, the flour was milled, the dough was steamed, the texture was kneaded, the shape was cut, the package was sealed. Each step affects the next one. A mistake at the beginning can appear only at the end. That is why the workers keep watching, even when the machines seem to do everything. Korean rice cakes may look plain, but the process behind them is precise. Some packages are shipped fresh. Others are moved into freezing lines. Freezing changes the factory's atmosphere. The air turns colder. The surfaces become dry and bright. The rice cakes must be protected so their texture survives storage and cooking later. In the freezer tunnel, cold air moves fast around the sealed packages. The product becomes stable enough for long transport. After freezing, workers check the boxes, palletize the load, and prepare the shipment. The journey that began with sacks of rice is almost finished. The rice cakes are now clean, sealed, counted, and ready for stores.
Naturals. And now the transformation is complete. The factory started with plain rice, water, and a careful balance of heat and pressure.
And now, the transformation is complete. The factory started with plain rice, water, and a careful balance of heat and pressure. What leaves the building is something very different. Soft, chewy Korean rice cakes, packed for home kitchens, restaurants, convenience stores, and street food stalls. The final product looks simple because the factory has hidden the complexity inside every step. Washing made the grains clean. Soaking made the center soft. Milling turned rice into flour. Steaming turned flour into dough. Kneading created bounce. Extruding created shape. Cutting created portions. Packaging protected everything. From a quiet grain of rice to a sealed pack of tteok, this is one of Korea's most satisfying factory transformations.